Welcome to Manufacturing Talk Radio.
Here I am again, Lou Weiss, Manufacturing Talk Radio. We are in Detroit, Michigan, and we're at the Motion and Power Technology Expo, which used to be called the Gear Manufacturing Expo, but is still run by the same 116-year-old organization called AGMA, the American Gear Manufacturing Association. A lot of great people here, great machines, great talking, and I happen to have today, I have Shane Hollingsworth, who's Vice President of Sales for KAPP Technologies. So I'm not sure if everybody knows about KAPP Technologies, but we're going to find out. So we're going to start. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lou. Glad to be here, and definitely, as you mentioned earlier, it's great to be at the show this year here in Detroit. I have some fond memories of this show, as you mentioned, formerly the Gear Expo. As a young engineer, this was the first trade show I really attended, and was glad that my previous employer gave me the opportunity to come here. So, got a little fondness for the Gear Expo and the focus of our show. It's a trade show that's very, very specialized in gear manufacturing, and there's everything here from the heat treat side all the way up through all the processes of manufacturing. So it's a great show for gear companies.
As we all know, if it has a gear, it moves. If it doesn't have a gear, it doesn't move. Yep. So that's a good way for us to start out.
Yep.
So tell us about KAPP, capital K, capital A, capital P Technologies. Sorry, it's not a familiar name to me, but you are worldwide. So let's talk a little bit about that.
We are an international company. KAPP Technologies is the North American arm of the KAPP NILES group. KAPP NILES is a family-owned third-generation company based in Coburg, Germany. Our main facilities are where we do the machine tool design and building are in Coburg and Berlin, Germany, those two, as well as we have a large tool plant that's in Coburg, Germany as well. Our recent addition for the KAPP group was a metrology piece that's outside the Frankfurt area. Großostheim to be exact. Nobody will know what Großostheim is, but so it's simpler to say outside the Frankfurt area.
Right.
But we're a worldwide company. We've got facilities in North America, China, India, Italy as well. About 800 employees worldwide. Here in North America, we have two primary facilities in Dayton, Ohio, and in Boulder, Colorado, with about 40 employees in total. The Dayton, Ohio facility is focused on our metrology product, and the Boulder facility is the gear grinders historically.
What is the metrology product? I'm not even sure I said it right.
No, you did, absolutely. So our business, as far as the KAPP NILES group, we've done a lot of focus. We're just celebrating our 70th anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
So we're quite excited by that. The KAPP family started in 1953, and now, like as I mentioned a minute ago, the third generation is heavily involved. And metrology side of our business, we've long been in gear grinding, profile finishing, and the group was looking for an opportunity to add some diversification to our product offering, and gear analytical measuring machines, or GMMs, potentially, as you sometimes hear them in the gear manufacturing world, is where we've made an investment, acquiring two companies, launching a brand new product. Now we have what we call the KAPP NILES metrology division. So we're measuring, basically sub-micron level features on gear processes that we need to certify. So we're the certifier of the cutting or grinding process to make sure that the end user is getting what they want and what they expect.
And the quality of the product.
Correct. Quality control.
Yeah.
That's the...
In your verification of the product, is that qualifying the surface condition, or are you at all involved in the quality of the metal itself, the particular alloys?
So we are only basically what that feature looks like on the surface.
Okay.
We do have the capability of measuring surface finish. but we're primarily looking at the shape of that. And there's three characteristics that typically measure in a gear. We'll say pitch, lead, and involute. If you're a gear head, obviously there's a lot of details surrounding each of those features and what's required. But those are the three basic features that we make sure that the gear itself is what it's supposed to be, shaped like it's supposed to be, and let's say in line where it's supposed to be are the simplest ways to define that. When it comes to the subsurface structure, if we're looking at the type of alloy or materials, you start to transition into the metallurgical aspect of the part, which is very important. We as a gear grinding OEM for machine tools appreciate heat treat because it tends to mess things up.
Yep.
And we like to go back in and make sure they're precision finished. So for us, we're basically the surface level, I'll say, of what the shape and geometry of that gear looks like.
Well, I'm going to put a plug in now for All Metals and Forge Group, the forger who forges gear blanks and starters for the making of gears. So take a look.
Yeah, they're obviously the right material and a good quality is the starting product for the gear world.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think probably mentioned previously, gears and bearings tend to go together, and those are all heavily metallurgical influenced as far as their performance and application.
Yeah. We have a lot of our customers here who buy our forged rings and blanks for the manufacturing of gears. So I'll give you literature later. So, to what extent has the new technologies that have evolved over the last 5 or 10 years fit into your processes?
Yeah, it's definitely has been a rapid revolution. We can definitely talk about technology advances in the aerospace market. The KAPP history has, let's say, the experience and know-how of being coined of being able to grind the ungrindables, as we like to say. So we're working on some new technologies for some helicopter applications. We're working on technologies for small ID grinding, where you're basically less than an inch in diameter grinding a spline. Obviously, it comes with its own set of complexities. Sometimes people think smaller is simpler. Smaller can be just as complex as a 2, 3, 4 meter size gear. So we're definitely seeing a lot of efforts in the aerospace market to develop that. We've got some high-speed spindle applications, 60,000 RPM with small grinding wheels for some external short clearances, and then especially the hot topic that makes the news more often probably is electrification right now. I think the industry as a whole, whether you're an automotive, Class 8 trucks, or even let's say utility vehicles and things just in your everyday use at the house, electrification, battery operated vehicles has come to a large talking point. And of course, with that, right, we've lost the ICE engine, which used to mask a lot of noise of the product or the application, and now the sensitive noise aspects are in the let's call the tires, which we don't have an influence on, or the gearbox, which obviously, as a manufacturer of machine tools that produce and finish these gear, have a heavy influence on. So there's been a lot of efforts to make sure that we've gone from a world 10 years ago, 5 years ago, really 10 years ago, started transitioning about 5 years ago. We've gone from a world where we could actually physically measure something, print out a piece of paper, and basically that knowledge says the gear is good. We've happened to transition now where we have to understand much more details of characteristics so that we know that gear is going to go in a transmission and not actually be noisy. And when I say noisy, meaning it's excited by a certain frequency.
Right.
And now we have to figure out what is that frequency excited. And it creates a whole nother level of analysis that didn't really exist 10 years ago. Started coming into market 5 years ago, is now obviously a common discussed technology.
Being that you are involved in aerospace and such, are you ISO 9000 and AS 9100 registered?
Our facility in Germany, where the machine tools are built, are ISO manufactured, certified. The AS, I believe, refers more to the end manufacturer of the product itself. We are supplying the tools and the machine tools that go to that. So obviously, we what the customer controls from his technology and inputs, I think falls more under the ADS umbrella from there.
Right.
But we are very familiar with those quality controls processes for our customers, because it becomes very sensitive in technology development, because once that technology process is proven, it's locked in. And that can be all the way down to the grinding oil,
Right.
to the specification of the grinding wheel, to the speeds, the feeds, the number of parts per dress, how many times how many wheels you can get per part if you're using CBN. So yes, we let's say we work with a lot of our manufacturers to make sure that once that process is locked in, that we're also adhering to it as a supplier, and they're also achieving it from what's been proven and allowed.
We've been All Metals and Forge has been a ISO registered company since 1994, and with some pushback from employees about, why do we have to do this? Why? Today, it's at a point that we all know that we couldn't run our company without it.
Yeah, it's procedural control, essentially, right?
Absolutely.
You put a procedure in place, you want to adhere to that.
Absolutely.
And the reason and obviously, if a procedure needs adjusted, the ISO allows for that, as long as you properly document
and then just keep doing it the way it's supposed to be done.
That's right.
And then if you have some corrective actions or preventive action reports, you make your changes, and you're improving your product. You're improving the product for your customer.
Yep.
And I'm sure that you're well into all that information.
Absolutely. That's it's a necessity, right? I mean, I think you have ISO. I think TS is another certification out there. The German, European, there's like a CE standard. So there's obviously multiple standards worldwide that are all intending to help with procedural control, which leads to quality control. So
I like the term that you use, procedural management.
Yep.
That's a good term. I hope to remember it when we get done. It's a good terminology.
Yeah.
So, do you get to go back to Germany periodically, or?
Yeah, we had the opportunity actually this year for our, as I mentioned, the 70th anniversary. I was able to take my family to the 70th celebration in July. Fantastic. I think we had close to 2,000 current and former employees.
No kidding.
So it really speaks to the KAPP family name and how they treat their employees, that they have so many retirees and their extension of their families that came back and enjoyed the day celebration.
Great.
So yes, that was just one instance, but I generally get back to Germany, the headquarters, 3 or 4 times a year, whether that be in Berlin or Coburg. I've been to both this year, and it's a great place to visit. It's always enjoyable to be able to take our customers to see the machines and the facilities where they're built. They are truly world class. The KAPP group and the KAPP family do a lot of work to make sure that we're building world class product, but we also have world class facilities building that world class product.
And you have to have world class employees.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the number one resource that we all have is our employees. So.
The better you treat your employees, the better your product, the better your customer, the better your future.
Yeah, it's one of the things actually that attracted me to KAPP when I joined them 7 years ago. So I started in the gear industry back in 2007. Like I said, one of my first trade shows I ever attended was Gear Expo, and I was actually at a gear manufacturer at the time. And, they were great place to learn gear manufacturing, and they were going through some ownership changes, and was a very corporate world, and a family-owned business that always intrigued me. And this opportunity came around, and I've been very happy with working for the KAPP family. And it's always an interesting dynamic when you work for a family-owned business, as well. So obviously there are great corporations out there too, but been quite happy for myself with my fit.
But you live in Indiana.
I still live in Indiana, yeah. So obviously we travel out to Boulder, Colorado a few times a year for the financials, and our headquarters for North America there to whatever customer demonstrations, meetings, things of that nature. But yeah, so I still live in Indiana, and the base for that is, there's a lot of travel involved in a sales role, in North America, and majority of a custom manufacturing base. You kind of a split, I'll say, right? You have the Midwest has a heavy manufacturing base, and you jump all the way to the East Coast, to the Southeast, then you have the West Coast. So, let's say if you had to put dots on the map, maybe 70% of our customer, 80% of our customer base is in that Midwest driving range.
It's funny. I just heard the other day that California has more manufacturing uh, in their state than any other state in the country.
There's a huge manufacturing base there as well. I mean, obviously the LA area has a lot of manufacturers, aerospace for sure. You've got Tesla headquarters there. Haas Machine Tool is headquartered
Right.
there, and I think Oxnard. Obviously, San Francisco has manufacturing, so it is a
Yeah.
large state, and
Yeah.
we have quite a few customers in that area as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
From Boulder, Colorado to Denver flight to LA is only a couple hours, and one of the reasons we're successful out there is we're the closest to that area from a service
Right.
support aspect. So that was one thing that when I started at this company, you start looking more North America whole footprint, and it's quite amazing just how much industry still is in that area.
Yeah.
It's not just Hollywood movie stars everywhere.
No.
There are real
Yeah.
people making things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. We did a show a couple of weeks ago about Hollywood, being that they are manufacturing movies.
Yeah.
And so we talked about the strike and everything. So that was a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything in Canada?
We do. We have several customers in the Toronto area. Actually, a couple of them are here this week, waiting on a new machine arrival for one of them right now. And then we have customers in Western Canada too. So it's definitely a market for us. We have large gear grinders as well as our smaller generating machines for us. And in Mexico, we've got quite a few customers in that area as well. That's obviously been a heavily invested manufacturing base for a lot of the automotive businesses over the last decade.
So one last question before we wrap up. What do you see for the future for KAPP?
Well, that's a great question.
It's a good one to end with.
Yes, it's always what do you see for the future is a great one to end with. I think KAPP NILES, we are just starting to see the last 2 to 3 years is when the third generation took over as managing directors of the business. I think we're really starting to see their fingerprint on the business. Michael and Matthias KAPP have got a vision, and obviously looking forward to the future where that leads us. I think we will be growing in certain markets. I think in other markets we may do a little bit of streamlining in certain areas, but that's not a bad thing. It's at the restaurant menu, you can have a lot and serve everybody, but it's also very difficult to have everything meet your expectations. I don't see much of that happening, but maybe a little bit. I think where we'll go is we'll see for sure digital solutions is a hot button right now.
Right.
We've got a display in our booth that shows how to connect not only your gear manufacturing machine, but also your analytical machine. And in addition, how do we take all that technology and apply it to the manufacturing process? So, with accelerometers on the grinding machine, with feedback from the analytical machine and feedback from the end-use customer with the transmission application, we can really develop a total solution of how that. And I think that market, we're just starting to scratch, understand what is capable there. Take the data collection or the amount of data that's available and sorting through that and understanding what to do with that. I think we're just starting to get into that.
You must have a whole department that focuses on that.
There's a pretty large software group that's continuing to develop where we're going. I mean, we have a new software platform we've introduced in the last couple of years that I refer to it as, a lot of people don't need training to work their iPhones. Obviously, it's not quite the same for gear grinding, gear manufacturing equipment, but we're trying to work with visually intuitive-based touchscreen applications. So that software will be continued to develop. I think our metrology business will continue to evolve and grow and become a key part of our foundation as a company.
Right.
We're growing in our markets such as India and Italy by putting larger presence there. So I think it's definitely where we'll be is always a question mark. But I think we have a bright future. We're a healthy company. It's a great place to be as an employee. And definitely there's no shortage of technology development coming out right now.
That's for sure.
With electrification, as well as even on the large side of our business, with the wind market, 2 meters, 3 meter, 4 meter diameter products. I mean, we've introduced some new aspects there. And it's, again, as I mentioned earlier, having that wider range allows us to weather a lot of different economies of what's hot or what's cold.
Yeah.
So I think we'll, if I had to say in 30 years, well, hopefully maybe not 30 years, but, in 25 years when I'm close to nearing retirement, I think KAPP will be the fourth generation will be starting into the business. So
maybe they'll adopt you and make you part of the family.
well, I get along pretty well with them, I think, so it wouldn't be the worst thing to happen, Lou.
Shane Hollingsworth, thank you very much. I appreciate your sitting in with us and giving us a little insight into your world, and wish you well.
No, thank you very much, and enjoy your time here at the trade show. And if you have
Thank you.
if people have a chance to come out, we got about a day and a half left. So it's Detroit, Michigan here, right at the Huntington place. So
Okay.
if you're in Michigan, it's easy to get to.
Yep.
So
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you all for listening, and be ready for my next interview.
That's our show for today. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the show, please like and subscribe, share on social media, or leave a review. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Rumble, or your favorite podcast app. Visit us online at mfgtalkradio.com for our other episodes. We have also included links to our advertisers below. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.